transmit 100 gigs of information in 1 hour on the web. You upload movies to YouTube, and it's tremendous. And the future, I think, will be green. It will be something completely new. It will be something that will create new platforms that are energy efficient and will create a self-sustainable living. The technology, basically, it's where we are involved. It's used to create knowledge, and knowledge, like everything else, it's created, shared, and consumed, and becomes irrelevant a year or a day too late. Technology helps to capture, and you should look at technology from high level, not on the leader itself, process, store, and deliver knowledge. And computers are a platform. It's nothing more. It has a hardware, which is the body of that computer, and of course it has the software running on it, which is its soul. Without the soul, is irrelevant. So knowledge in this day and age is all about quality and not quantity. The size and the location of a company doesn't matter. You can be in Romania and be the world's fastest growing company in your own field, and anybody in the world that needs something will buy it from you. And that allows you to make a lot of money. So, since there is a famous law in technology, the Moore's law, which talks about the fact that the number of transistors will double every year and so on and so forth. Then, of course, there's Murphy's law. I created my own law with your permission. And Haber's law says that if something can be done in software, it will. And if you look in time, in the beginning, audio was done with big things outside the PC, then it became part of the platform. The PC, the mobile phone can play back MP3 today. It's all done in software. And the same will happen with DVD and digital TV and WiMAX and communications as well. So, let's talk about the real question, why start a startup? I can tell you after starting quite a few that is the most rewarding and the best thing any work you can do, and you can all do it. There is nothing to stop you there. It's very simple, of course, in theory. All you have to do is have some crazy idea about a product or a service that somebody needs. Then you have to have the leadership and the attitude to bring together the people and go for it. Then you have to have the discipline to stick to it, to move forward when things are difficult. And I can tell you that creating value from ideas, starting startup is the most wonderful feeling that anyone can have. It's better than sex and lasts a lot longer. So, of course, there is a negative to it as well. Why not to start startups? Well, it is really the survival of the fastest and the strongest. It's going to be very hard work. You're going to ignore family and friends and many, many sleepless nights, and that's just how the game is done. Because as we said before, the one that is the strongest and the most dedicated and the luckiest will win. And you need to push your luck. About 10% of the companies, not the MCI portfolio, of course, which is much better, but in general, survive the first year. People just run out of money, they give up, they, want to have a life. So the statistics are staggered against you. About 2% are, big successes, and about 5% of the companies go in what I believe is the absolute worst condition, is this type of coma, where the company is going nowhere. It's not going forward, it's not going backward. You live every month just to survive. It's pretty abysmal. Now, I think the real important question to ask is, what is your business? Really. Not what your technology is. And I can tell you this is one of the best things I've learned in my life. When I was young, back in Oradea, there was this guy coming on a carriage bringing ice, right? And my mother used to have this big green box in which this guy put the ice, and this was our refrigerator. And my father, who was an electrician, one day comes home and he buys this electric thing, the refrigerator. And I was at home when the guy who brought the ice came to our house and saw this big box called the refrigerator going in electricity. So he started telling my mother that we are all gonna die. That you would not put your hand in electricity, how can you put your food in electricity, right? The food will get charged with electricity and we're gonna all die and it's gonna be the end of the world. So my father comes home and he gets a mouthful from my mom. You know how it is, those of you who have girlfriends or married. You know, my father says to my mom, you know, this is not true, you know, it's a refrigerator, it's healthy, nothing will happen, woman, you know, sit down, stop complaining. It took me many, many years to understand that the poor guy who was selling us the ice had no idea what his business was. He knew what his technology is. So in the day that he brought us the box that he put the ice in, the refrigeration technology was blocks of ice. As times evolved, the refrigeration technology became a compressor that compressed air and created the cool thing locally. The poor guy that brought us the ice and had to clean the horse's shit, from the street, didn't realize that he could have been probably the biggest distributor of refrigerators. He knew all of his clients. He knew who has money, who has a room to put a refrigerator. He could have taken this new technology to create more value than he ever imagined. He could have been today the biggest store that sells refrigerators, televisions. He could have been Samsung, right? Had he realized really what his business is. So think about your business, not the technology you have. And very simple examples, of course, is ice to refrigerators. Very few companies actually realize really what their business is, and this is true for people that were selling candles, and then they went to light bulbs and LEDs. It's the same thing. It's creating light is your business, not selling candles. People that went from mainframes to personal computers to cell phones, the business was not making the computer, the business really was an information distribution platform. Record players to iPods and so on and so forth. Another very important thing that you need to establish is who cares about your business. 5 minutes it will be done. How many people care about your business will define your total available market. The short for that is TAM. How much those people care for the product or the business you have will define the so-called ARPU, or average return per user. Clients and market is always right, until proven otherwise, of course. You should only sell things that you can make, and not everything that you can make can be sold. You also have to understand what is your unfair advantage in your business. You have a great idea. Why is that different from other people's great idea? How can you create a differentiation? And that could be technology. You can have a better technology. It could be marketing. It could be your relations with the sales channels. Sometimes your unfair advantage is pure and simple money. You're Microsoft. You have as much money as God, so you can do almost anything because you can push your product through, but you better understand it. You need to understand the difference between market and marketing. In a small company, everybody does everything. In a large company, there are big differences between different departments. You also look at marketing in a holistic way. You should analyze your customers, your advantages, your cooperators, and look at them in a very scientific way. You need to plan your resources. You need to look at your market and your clients. The return on investment will be more or less the average return per user divided by the cost to acquire and to maintain that user. It's relatively simple, and if you work on it, you can figure out if your business is viable or it's just a great idea. You have to create a team with the competency. You have to have the engineers to create the energy. You have to have the management to focus that energy, and the money to make it happen. And this is where VCs are very important. It takes money to make money. It's very difficult to find when you need it, and believe me, people will throw money at you if you don't need it. And that's why